everybody. I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. There's a live Q&A today at 11 a.m., so if you have any questions, then is a good time to ask me. But let's get into 4 big announcements that I have. I'm really excited about a lot of things. First of all, Dice Tower Convention is something that we run every year. Well, I help with it. It's run by Patrick Havert and his crew. They do a fantastic job. It's held in Orlando in the beginning of July every year, and if you've never gone, it is an amazing time. We opened up registration for it, and we have sold many, many tickets, but there are still several left. So 2 things. First of all, there's a brand new website for Dice Tower Con. I didn't put it together, so I can say that it's great. Many convention websites just don't give out that much useful information. This one definitely is very handy and useful. Now, there is a possibility Avast is currently reporting it as malware. It does not. Every other site checks it clean. So if you're using Avast, if you could do us a favor and shoot them a thing telling them to please unblock it. They changed IPs, which is why Avast is doing that. But for everyone else, it's a great website to go to, and you want to get your tickets before February 15th. In fact, that's not too far away, all right, because the prices are going up at that point. There are still a couple hundred tickets left, so if you want to come to a weekend of just absolute playing games, seeing Dice Tower shows, and just having a great time, you definitely want to sign up for that. That's at dicetowercon.com. So then we have 3 new podcasts are joining the Dice Tower Network. It's been a while since we've had some new ones join, but I went through and looked, and there's lots of applicants to become podcasts. We don't want to have every single podcast in the world join the network, so I wanted to get some more diversity, and we have 3 new podcasts that are coming on. First, we have Board Game Blitz. This is run by 3 lovely ladies, Ambi, Crystal, and Cassidy. It's a 30-minute show about games, about playing games, where they even talk about games etymology. There's just a lot of cool things involved in this one. You can check them out. Then that's Board Game Blitz. Then we have The Family Gamer. This is a couple, Andrew and Anita Smith. They are raising the next generation of gamers. It's a family-friendly podcast talking about a family where Andrew and his wife get together and they talk about what games they're playing, just different things like that. Then we have Our Turn Podcast. This is a group of women who are pulling up a bunch of chairs at a table, inviting everyone to join a conversation about games, sitting down, why games are social, and having fun. So that's Our Turn Podcast, The Family Gamer, and Board Game Blitz. We'd like to welcome all of them to the Dice Tower Network and encourage you to check out their shows. Next piece of news. We ran a Dice Tower Marathon in January, and then we made it one of the stretch goals in our Indiegogo campaign to run another one. Well, after long and careful thought, or some careful thought, or just thought, we're going to be running this in February. Why? Because we got conventions much of the else of the year. There's not a lot going on in February, so one's coming up very soon, February 23rd and 24th. We're going to be running another live 30-hour marathon. It's spread over 36 hours. We take a few hours to a break to eat. You'll see some familiar faces from the last marathon, but you'll also see some different faces. We are switching some people out. My daughter will be there and some other folks there, so hopefully that'll be a great time. We'd love to hear what games you'd like to see us play. We can't guarantee that we're going to play all of them or any of them, but we're going to try to get a bunch of different games played so that you can see them, and hopefully that will be an entertaining time. So set your calendar for that. My final big announcement is in the news, so let's get to that. Well, the big thing in the news for me is that there's a new game in the Dice Tower Essentials line. You'll be able to play it this coming Gen Con if you go to that, and it should be released around Essen time. And this game is viral. Now, Arcane Wonders is producing this in conjunction with Mesa Board Games. You may know them from Estrel 1942. It is a really cool game, Viral. What Viral is a human body is the board, right? And you are different viruses trying to attack the different regions. It's an area control, and you're putting cards together, using these cards in combinations to do different things, upgrading your virus so that it does more damage. However, the human body is strong and fierce, and it will grow antibodies to fight off the different diseases. So you're always getting wiped out of different areas because the antibodies are strong. So I guess if you're the human, that's a good thing. but this game has cute, fun artwork. It's a theme that I think isn't done very much. It looks great. It plays good. I'm a big fan of area controls. As soon as I saw this game, I was really in love with it. I cannot wait to see the final product. That is Viral, coming from Arcane Wonders. AEG has announced several new games also. We have Mystic Vale, Veil of the Wild. They're still not putting much effort into their expansions for Mystic Vale, but maybe that's their shtick now. Also, there's The Captain is Dead. I'm still kind of pumped about this one. This one I think sounds really neat, where you're on a ship and, well, the captain is dead. And so you're working together to stop the ship from crashing. Also, they mentioned Cutthroat Kingdoms, and then some smash-up news. We know that the next expansion coming out is What Were We Thinking, which has rockers and grannies and stuff. Then they got Big in Japan, which is coming, which looks like it has a Power Rangers spin-off faction and things like that. And they're even offering a survey online. You can go take and answer some questions about smash-up, and you can get a faction of sheep. So you can have ghost sheep and ninja sheep and robot sheep and all kinds of sheep involved, I suppose. Days of Wonder has announced an expansion for Quadropolis. This is public services, which comes with 24 public buildings that you will be able to stick into your city to make your cities better in Quadropolis. The real question is, how are they going to fit into the insert? Who knows? ConSim World Con is happening May 27th through June 3rd. You can sign up for that. If you are a die-hard war gamer, ConSim Con is where you want to go. ConSim World is basically a website that for a while was kind of competing with BGG for gamers. BGG, Board Game Geek, won that one. ConSim World is basically just for war gamers, and even not all of them have stayed. If you look at the website, it's kind of a relic of the past. However, the people there are big fans. If you want to play monster war games, this is the place you're going to want to go to. Reiner Knizia apparently has had some problems with the company that publishes Ingenious. I'm not sure exactly everything that goes down in there, except he's kind of remade the game called Axio. This is a remade version. It's not the exact same game as Ingenious, but it's some similarities. I believe it is using squares rather than hexagons that Ingenious used, and he's even coming out with an octagonal version later on. Ingenious is a great game where you match symbols on a board, so I'm looking forward to trying both of these out. Games Workshop has been accused by PETA. They sent out a thing that said basically they had fur on the different models in their Warhammer 40K universe, and that they need to take these off because it's just a bad thing for fur. Now, this news was met, this was an actual thing. I thought it was a joke at first. This news was met by some derision and scorn from the internet. Essentially, regardless of where you stand on animal treatment or not, the rights for animals, and whether you like PETA or not, this seemed like a very kooky thing to go after, especially since many of these space marines and stuff, yeah, they're wearing furs, but they're also wearing like the skulls of the people that they defeated in battle. I think I'd be a little more concerned about that. There's a lot not to like about the 40K universe. A couple days ago, PETA issued a follow-up that basically said, we were just joking, but we got your attention, didn't we? Maybe that is what they're doing, or maybe they realized how silly of a position it was, and who knows, it just was interesting. Sherlock Holmes is coming out. Furiarty's Trail. Wow, do I hate that name, but people are going to like it. Sherlock Holmes IP is now totally open, and people are using it every way they can, so apparently cats are now Sherlock Holmes. Queen has announced some new games coming up. There is the big box of Escape Zombies. Escape is a great game, and there's several expansions. They made a big box out of that. They also made a follow-up, Escape Zombies, where you're trying to get out of a city where there's zombies chasing you. And then there was expansions for that, so now they're going to come together in a big box. 12 Thieves is a reprint. I'm not sure if it's straight reprint or if it's a redone version of Thieves of Baghdad. This was nominated for the Spiel years ago. Probably it was a good candidate. That was a good year. I remember playing this game, thought it was an interesting, if somewhat abstract game. So I'm curious to see how 12 Thieves done. And also Solaris, and this one is about solar mining. That's a cool looking game. And Templar's Journey. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing these. These don't look like they're that far away coming out from Queen. Woo! Lots of news today, folks. But now it's time to dip our toes into the crowdfunding waters with Suzanne.
Happy breakfast, everybody. There is a ton going on in crowdfunding for us right now, so let's get going. Designed by the illustrious Richard Launius and Pete Shirey, Delve is a tile-laying dungeon exploration game with some nice thematic elements and gameplay twists. Your team of delvers will explore the depths of Skull Cavern in the hopes of collecting valuable treasures. Each turn you place both a tile and an adventurer token, but these tokens are face down and revealed only when an area is resolved. When an area is completed, the delvers will fight each other for their share of treasure in that space, and if you're alone, well, you'll face an encounter card instead. As a nice touch, each encounter card has a little story snip for a thematic pop. You can get a copy of Delve for a pledge of $38, or for $45, you also get the Peril Awaits expansion. From the team who produces Monikers comes Pitch Deck. This is a party game about pitching ridiculous startup ideas like LinkedIn for babies or Lyft for piggyback rides. This follows a formula that may feel familiar to other pitch-style party games in which players play a business idea from their hand for one of the open company cards on the table. Most of the game is in the players giving a quick elevator pitch for the company idea and trying to catch the investor's eye. Based on the production quality of Monikers, Pitch Deck will be a slickly produced game that takes a pledge of $25 plus shipping. Import-Export describes itself as Glory to Rome meets Container. This is a role selection economic game that leverages multi-use cards. That's a lot of lingo for a game that has simple mechanisms but deep gameplay. The goal is to have the most credits, active or passive, at the end of the game. You have to balance completing shipments against earning credits, and there are silent auctions for containers, which can then be used for endgame scoring or for an immediate action. The art style is modern and clean, and there are 3 optional expansions you can add on. If you enjoy complex, deep card games that are difficult to master, then Import-Export might be perfect for you. You can get a copy of the base game for $35 plus shipping, but there are pledge levels that include a variety of add-on options as well. Gamelin Games is taking a gigantic leap away from their tiny epic core with Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. This is an epic 4X game complete with a ton of miniatures and cardboard structures. Designed by Scott Almes, Heroes of Land, Sea, and Air has an action selection basis, and while its scale is immense, the gameplay is streamlined to about 30 minutes per player. Players have heroes with different abilities that evolve as the game goes on, warriors to battle with, and a limited supply of peons who do the dirty work like collecting resources and constructing buildings. Battle does not rely on dice, and the production values on the game are stellar. There is so much going on in this game, I really can't do an adequate job of summarizing it here, so I encourage you to check out the campaign and the variety of pledge levels yourself. At the basic pledge that has standees instead of minis, you can get a copy for $60 plus shipping. The game with minis takes a pledge of $100, and if you want to go extra fancy, there is a deluxe edition for $220 that includes pre-painted minis. Superhot is a deck-building card game that takes the mechanisms of a popular print-and-play game called Agent Decker and combines it with the popular first-person shooter video game Superhot. The video game has an interesting time mechanism in it, and the card game does in fact leverage that for gameplay. At its simplest, you'll be defeating obstacles in the card line using dodge and punch values on the cards in your hand. But Superhot has an interesting mechanism that rotates cards between your deck and the obstacles lineup. There are tools to help you along and bullets that will clog your engine up. Ultimately, there's only one way to win the game, by completing the missions, but there are 4 ways to lose. Superhot includes 4 game modes for gameplay variability, and it features an art style very reminiscent of the video game. You can get a copy of Superhot for $15 plus shipping. And last, but certainly not least, Trickster Champions of Time is a clever and dynamic card game based on trick-taking style gameplay, but with special powers. Each card is a character that has a special ability that allows you to do a wide variety of actions, moving cards around. And this is important because cards are worth points, and you want the fewest points at the end of the game. One clever twist is that the trickster of the round sets how the trick flows for the hand, whether you follow suit or character or must be unique. Trickster plays in 3 quick rounds, and you can mix and match heroes for each game, creating a ton of variability. Trickster features stunning art by Beth Sobel, and you can get a copy of the base game for a pledge of just $19. Or for a pledge of $28, you get the base game and the Grand Gambit expansion, which hugely expands gameplay options. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye, but I can tell you next week I have even more great games coming at you. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Welcome to Mike Fitzgerald's Baseball Highlights 2045.
Hello there, Board Game Inspector Bob Boxfat here. Today, on Board Game Theatre, we are exploring a pastime that is an integral part of American history.
Hi everybody, this is Mel Rizzuto, and holy cow, I'm so excited because we are here to comment on this amazing Baseball Highlights 2045 World Series we're about to witness. How about that?
Yeah, how about that indeed? Vin Buck joining you guys. And it is going to be the New York Yorkers going up against the Boston Bullheads in a much anticipated series. We're calling this one Old School versus New School.
That's right, we got the Wonder Kid from Australia. Do you believe this? An Australian manager taking care of the New York Yorkers, Johnny Connor, against the Boston Bullheads, the Old School. And that's Mr. Catfish.
Yeah, and a lot of folks have said this could be Catfish's last run, that he might be losing his touch. We'll see if that proves to be the case.
Yes, we will.
Today's game is called Baseball Highlights 2045 by Eagle Griffin Games. It places the players in control of a baseball team in a futuristic setting. They must compete against each other using their teams of robots, cyborgs and naturals to win the 2045 World Series. The World Series is played over best of 7 games. During each game, players will draw a hand of 6 cards and take turns playing them back and forth and resolving their abilities. The cards will score hits as well as providing offensive and defensive abilities. When a hit is scored, a runner matching the speed of the played card is placed on base corresponding to the type of hit. For example, a double would place a runner on second base, as well as advance all other players on base an additional 2 bases. After all 6 cards are played, whoever has scored the most hits is the winner. Then you add up the income of the cards you have played that game and draft new players into your team, as well as remove a number of old players. Then you draw 6 more cards and play the next game. Will the coaches call upon cyborgs and robots, or trust in the skill of the naturals? Maybe they will do both. Find out now on Board Game Theatre.
Hello, Johnny Connor here, leader of the New York Yorkers. We're playing in this year's World Series. We play to win the game. We're gonna win. It's just an old guy.
I'm gonna show these young guys how this ball game is played. Old school. Back in my day, when I threw a ball, I threw a ball.
So what are we looking at this week from the Dice Tower? First of all, I'm hoping to get a live play of Pillars of the Earth in. A lot of people have been asking about that, so we're going to be doing that. I'm going to try to get some live playthrough of Arcadia Quest coming. I'll be doing reviews of Castles of Countdale, the expansion for Clank, Picassimo, the deluxe version of Love Letter, Dolores, and a couple other games. I'll also be doing, we're doing the best of different companies, and I'll be telling you the best of, what do I got? The best of AEG, the best of Uber Play, and the best of Jolly Rogers games, as well as my top 10 robot games. So all that's coming this week. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned some new podcasts joining our network, and we have a lot of other great podcasts, and you want to go check them out. If you're tired of hearing me and Eric or me, Sam, and Z talk about games, and you want to hear other voices talking about games in other ways, check out DicetowerNetwork.com. Once again, I do want to remind you, if you want just the audio version of this show or other shows we do on video, maybe you don't have time to watch them, you can always go to DicetowerAudio.com and download select shows that we put the audio up for there. All right, let's keep moving.
Upgrading paper money actually be degrading our gaming performance? Does paper money deserve a second chance? The case for the defense of paper money actually starts several years ago in an episode of Jeff Engelstein's Game Tech segment on the Dice Towers podcast, in which he spoke of the phenomenon called the endowment effect, which hypothesizes that the attachment people form within minutes to their possessions alter their bartering capabilities. For example, in an experiment testing the endowment effect, a group of participants were given possession of a chocolate bar. Soon thereafter, they were offered a coffee mug in trade for their chocolate bar. Now, the majority of the test subjects were unwilling to part with their chocolatey treat and turned the deal down. But really, I mean, that's no surprise. That makes sense to me. I mean, who would rather have a crusty old coffee mug than a smooth, creamy chocolate bar? But then, a second group of participants, who were given the coffee mugs first, exhibited the exact same behavior. They were unwilling to part with the coffee mug that they were now the owners of, declining to trade it away for the chocolate bar. So, it turned out that it didn't matter what the test subjects owned. As soon as they owned a thing, they were more reluctant to trade away and part with that thing. But there was one more wrinkle to the story, as Jeff pointed out, in that participants who, instead, just received generic money tokens did not exhibit the endowment effect at all. Board game paper money! It's painfully generic, which is why so many gamers jump at the chance to replace it with something more stylish, be it money cards, poker chips, or even fancy-time metal coins. However, is it possible that the more elaborate the upgrade, the more susceptible the gamers could be to the endowment effect? Would our subconscious find it easier to place a large bid on a space in the game of 49 if only the paper money that comes with the game is at stake, as opposed to wagering a large pile of fancy poker chips? Do the fancy resource upgrades in Scythe cause players to be slightly less willing to part with them to purchase abstract upgrades? Could it be that we are actually upgrading paper money into tangible things at the cost of our own gaming performance? Have you, or someone you love, experienced the endowment effect firsthand in your board games? If so, let me know in the comments below.
Hey everyone, it's lunchtime! Today we're going to look at Dice Bazaar. Dice Bazaar is a game designed by Fedor Sosnin, published by Disruptive Inc. It plays 2 to 4 players, ages 6 and up, in, 25 to 40 minutes. I'm going blind, apparently.
So Dice Bazaar takes Roll For It and kind of adds a little twist. You're basically trying to buy cards from the market stall, and there are dice in front of each of the 4 stalls of this person selling these goods. What you're doing is you're using your 6 dice to try to match the dice in those stalls to collect the card. But the thing is, people can put dice on those areas to reserve spot. So if you win the card, you'll re-roll the market dice. If they're still matching some of those dice, they get to keep them there, but otherwise they have to remove them. The nice thing about this is also, that I like, is if you do want to remove some of your dice from one of the stalls, you don't have to remove all of your dice. You only have to remove from all of one stall if you want to take some dice back because maybe you're a little too spread out or something like that. So I find it's got enough depth, but kind of takes that twist of trying to match dice and just adds a little bit more to it.
Yeah, so I definitely had that Roll For It feel to it, but a little bit more. So I did like that aspect. Some of the cards are really fun, like it allows you to re-roll the dice. I think it was the genie.
The genies.
And then we played with little monkeys, which gives you an additional die to use in your play. So I thought that was really cool. The artwork was really cute. Definitely a game, if you're playing with the full 4, you might want to have a slightly longer lunch hour, because if someone's rolling badly, it may extend the game. Like, yeah, right here.
Yeah, if you don't roll 3 ones, you're kind of stuck on the spot for a while.
So you're kind of stuck. Yeah, exactly. So, but overall, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I mean, it's a dice game, so it's luck. And I mean, colleagues love that. I mean, it's easy breezy, lunchtime, right?
Super easy to pick up.
Exactly.
For sure.
So there you go. So I enjoyed it. Awesome. So check it out. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, welcome to Miniatures World. First of all, I'm glad to be back, and thank you all for your prayers and everything for the Queen. We're starting to get where we need to be. But enough of that. Let's talk about what's really important. I've given Manic Games a real hard time over the years, and you know, I'm not the type of person to give somebody a hard time. I saw them at Gen Con. They're very nice people. I want to like their products. And one of the things that I was always critical about was Dungeon Saga. Now, I love the rules for this game. I love this game. I had a problem with the components, some of the quality control issues, and some of the miniatures. When they give you a manual and on the back it says how to fix something, that's usually not a good sign for me. But I decided to just keep going ahead and picking up the expansions. Now, I have found that the expansions have been excellent. And this latest expansion, which you can see up top, I wanted to show off some of the figures from it. I did a paint job for it this last Thursday, and we're going to be doing some more with it this coming week. But I wanted to show you and really take the time to say what a complete transformation from the first set to this. I mean, this dragon is absolutely beautiful, and if you look at it, I mean, just very detailed, and the two hero figures that come with it are just absolutely gorgeous. If you have a means to take a second look at Dungeon Saga, I really suggest you do so. I think it's a fantastic game. It's really, really great to play, and it looks like they're coming around and they're continually releasing stuff, and I'm really enjoying what they're doing. I can't wait to see what they do with their space stuff. See, they got me excited about something. Well, until next week, I'm Rob Warren, and we'll see you soon.
It's a little weird that I'm even kind of talking about this subject, but we've been called out in various places on the internet on this subject, and so I thought that I would kind of clarify at least Tom Vassal's position on this. And that is regarding Kingdom Death Monster. Now, Kingdom Death Monster is an incredibly successful Kickstarter. It was one of the first very popular Kickstarters. It took them years to get the game out. The game came out, and the people who have played it, for the most part, have really enjoyed it, okay? It was a game that's done very, very well. They just ran another Kickstarter, which is the largest board game Kickstarter in Kickstarter history, and so we're going to see another wave of this coming over time. And there's been a lot of, how comes the Dice Tower hasn't reviewed it, so on and so forth. Well, first of all, the Dice Tower itself, there's no moratorium where I'm saying, no, you can't review Kingdom Death Monster. If one of my reviewers wants to review Kingdom Death Monster, they're certainly welcome to do it. My reviewers are able to review pretty much any game that they can review if they can stay family friendly while doing the review. For example, Cards Against Humanity would be a difficult game to review and to keep the review family friendly. You can review things that are not family friendly per se and still do the review so that the review works, but sometimes it's not possible. So some games you won't see, for example. But yeah, you can do a family-friendly review of Kingdom Death Monster, so I have no problem with people doing that, and I have no problem with them not doing it. We don't review every game. Now, my goal is to review as many games as possible. So you might say, Vassal, why aren't you personally reviewing Kingdom Death Monster? It is a big, seminal game. It's made a lot of waves. What's the deal? Well, let me tell you this, and this is not the Dice Tower policy overall. This is my policy. The main reason, and this is by far the number one reason that I haven't reviewed the game, is because it just comes with a ton of miniatures that need to be put together. It is an expensive game, combined expensive game, and we were never sent a copy of it. So if we are not sent a copy of a game and it's expensive, we have to sit there and go, is this one worth reviewing? And then if there are miniatures that need to be put together, for me personally, not happening. Look at my track record. I think the last game I reviewed where I had to put miniatures together, was probably Super Dungeon Explorer, and I hated every second of that. Now, Sam is reviewing some Games Workshop stuff, but that's him putting those miniatures together and not me. If I have to put the miniatures together, it's just not happening. There are lots of miniature games out there that I'm not reviewing because I don't have that much time and stuff. That is a lot of time and effort to put into one game. And I don't think they're going to ever come out with a pre-assembled version of Kingdom Death Monster. Now, if I came across somebody who had a pre-assembled version of it and there was a chance to play it, Well, that would take away my number one reason. My number two reason that again, this is more of a minor thing, but I haven't gone out of my way to play Kingdom Death Monster because the idea of it just doesn't appeal to me, where you go through and you have a stick and you might survive and you might not, and then you have to start someone new. And I go into games for more of a woohoo type feeling, especially dungeon crawl type games, and I want to go through as a cool warrior and get level up and stuff. So the idea of having your person get mauled in the very first turn or have their neck broken or whatever is not as thrilling to me. A third reason is the kind of the culture that surrounds it. Now, when Kingdom Death Monster first came up, I immediately dismissed it because I went look at the Kickstarter and I'm like, there's all this cheesecake here. It looks like they're using sex to sell this game. Some of these models are extremely grotesque, and some of the models are not even like R-rated. They're like X-rated, okay? And then every time I say this, people say, well, that's not part of the game itself. And that's fine, and that's a fair thing to say. But there's still part of the background culture of that game. There's still part of this game where if someone says, what is this Kingdom Death Monster? And they Google it, those things are going to pop up. Nowadays, people get very angry at other people because of who they associate with. I think it's fair to say that Kingdom Death's associations and that around it, some of those miniatures and stuff, while maybe they're not needed to play the game, still don't give the game a pleasant vibe and one that I would want to bring down and play with my family, or even the guys. It would seem a little odd. And that is even more compounded by many of the fans of Kingdom Death Monster. How do I know this? It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but many of them are going to come here and thumb this video down because I did not speak the high praise to Kingdom Death Monster. I know this because Chaz Marler, who you guys know on this channel, does a fantastic job on this channel. And he did a video where he talked about Kickstarters, and he mentioned Kingdom Death Monster. He didn't even say anything negative about it. He just mentioned that it was not going to be fulfilled to 2020, which the Kickstarter page did say. If you scroll to the bottom, you saw that it was actually, some of it was coming out this year. And that video is one of the most thumbdowns videos we've ever had. I had to go in and ban like 20 people for saying vile, awful things. I mean, really bad things. And other people starting flame wars and screaming at him for things that, I mean, he wasn't even like criticizing the game. He was just talking about he got the date wrong, which again, I think was a fair thing. When you go to the page, it says estimate delivery 2020 on it. And the community came after him, and anytime anybody says anything somewhat negative about Kingdom Death Monster, the community comes in and is just mean and vile. And folks, this is why I stopped playing Warhammer 40K, because the community of that game really turned me off. And if this is the community for Kingdom Death Monster, folks, you're not doing yourself any favors. And again, this is probably a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will probably see some of that in the comments of this video. And, if you want me to play your game, make me want to play the game. Now, does it matter that we don't play it? I don't think so. Again, there's a lot of miniature games that are out there that we have never played. This one's certainly a popular one, but there's a lot of games that we haven't played that are popular. We have played like 2,000 other games each year. There's a lot of reviews that go up on our channel. So, this isn't going to convince anybody, is it, right? But I just wanted to give you my reasoning behind this, because it's not that I'm shunning the game. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It might be fantastic. And my opinions and other people's opinions in Dice Tower, we're not reflected on each other. If someone else says that they don't like it or they think it looks awful, that's not necessarily what I think. I think it doesn't look like a game I'd be interested in, because I don't want to put those miniatures together. It's very expensive. The theme doesn't really do anything for me, and the community around it is kind of, some of them are quite vile, and that doesn't really get me excited about it. Maybe my mind will be changed in the future. And I invite people to try to change my mind, because I try to go in with an open thing. But you wanted to know why I didn't talk about it? I just spent one of my Tom thinks on it. Let's get back to the rest of the show.
Hi guys. On February 1st of 1953, an European windstorm combined with springtide flood a big part of the Netherlands, Belgium and the United Kingdom. My country, the Netherlands, with more than 20% of its territory below sea level, was worst affected. At the time of the flood, none of the local radio stations broadcast at night, and many of the smaller weather stations operated only during the day. As a result, the warnings did not penetrate the flood-threatened area in time. And as the disaster struck on a Saturday night, Many government and emergency offices in the affected area were not staffed. Realizing that such infrequent events could recur, the Dutch government sped up the strengthening of their coastal defenses, and they ended up with the world-famous Delta Works, an extensive series of dams and storm surge barriers. This week I am playing a game that is fighting the water as well, where a team of experts collectively works together to pick up the treasures on the island before it is lost forever. This week I am playing Forbidden Island. In Forbidden Island, players find themselves on an island that is already partially flooded. They need collectively to pick up 4 treasures before they can fly home to safety. On each turn, players can use their 3 action points to move, unflood a territory, or hand over a treasure card to another player on the same tile. Once they have collected 4 of the same treasure cards, they can move to the right area and pick up that treasure. Using the same mechanics as in the popular game Pandemic, the island will get flooded more and more until eventually parts of the island will start disappearing and being lost in the sea forever. The trick is to have the treasures before that happens. Forbidden Island is a great cooperative family game. On each turn it's very easy to see what needs to be done to collectively win the game. It's very exciting to see it all come together. So highly recommended from me, Forbidden Island.
Okay, folks, it's time to look at the shelf again. First, we'll start with Hawken. Hawken's a real-time mech game from Cryptozoic, which is actually pretty good, but it's going to be replaced in my collection this year when Critical Mass comes out, the Dice Tower Essential game. It's another card game about mechs, but it's really good. Here's Robinson Crusoe. Of course, you guys know I really like this. Very difficult, but very fun and thematic cooperative game. Medieval Academy. This is a great drafting game. For new people into the hobby. Man, this game has probably been played 50 times. I take it with me to different places. People never played games before. I'm like, try Medieval Academy. Vegas Showdown. Really enjoy this one about building casinos in Las Vegas. There's auctioning, kind of you just see the thrill of seeing your casino built. A lot of fun. Royals. Royals is a great area control game. We certainly got a lot of feedback when we talked about games that needed to be dethroned, and Z mentioned El Grande, and many people said, what about Royals? And yeah, I was really not on the ball there. That's why it's in the Dice Tower Essential line, because I love the area control of this game so much. Neat game. Castle. This is a 2 to 6 player game from Blue Box Games. I'm still waiting to see this one get reprinted at some point, where you're basically trying to get rid of all the cards in your hand by putting them into a castle. Very interesting, and I think it's best as a 2-player game. Viticulture with the Tuscany expansion inside, or actually parts of the Tuscany expansion. I kept all the best parts. This game is amazing. I love this one so much. Great worker placement game with Tuscany. Just an amazing game. This one will be in a collection a while. Splendor, also a great game, although is Caravan going to knock it out? We'll have to wait and see. Or maybe I'll keep both of them. We'll see. But just a good game. Then here, this wooden box is Carcassonne, the City. This is one where you, it actually does not even come in a wooden box anymore. The last printing of it was in a cardboard box, but I don't know. I just like the wooden, where you're building a city and building wooden walls around it. It's my favorite version of Carcassonne. And then finally, Among the Stars, another drafting game. This one was just done, I think it was Valleys of Green, a farmer theme of it, but this is the game that really made me say, wow, Artipia Games makes really cool games. Really have a lot of fun drafting. Reminds me of Seven Wonders, but with a space station theme. So that's what's on the shelf this week.
Hey, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. This last week, I got to play a new game that I backed on Kickstarter, got in the mail a few weeks ago, and finally got it to the table, called Santorini. What a fun, abstract 2 to 4 player game. I love it. Played it a few times. Kind of got to know how to play it. Everybody has individual powers. Makes the game really fun. And anyone can really win, but it's very strategic. A lot deeper than you might think. Well, you open the box. All you see is a bunch of white buildings, and then these blue things that go on top. Those buildings are begging to be painted. So what did I do? I broke out the paint station. I got my brushes. I have my magnifying glass. I've got my paints organized in these X cases from Active Mind Games. And What else? I've got all these pieces that I've painted. Now, don't get me confused with Rob Oren. I'm going to show you a theme that is really easy to paint Santorini pieces with, that you don't have to be good, you don't have to be mediocre, you can be like me. You can be a crappy painter because you need to be one to make these things look real. Let me show you what I did and how this turned out. So instead of trying to paint these things really nicely, which I don't have any talent for whatsoever, I decided to pick a theme that where if I mess up, it's all right because it's supposed to look messed up, and it's called Fallout. My first attempt was painting these with spray paint and using bright colors. This was fine, but it looked more like a toy and not really the Fallout look I was looking for. So I repainted them using a gray color, a light off-white color, and a gray color. And then I used a black wash and made them look kind of old and grungy, which is perfect because if you look at the very top of these, see how you got that cracking? That's because I used too much wash on the top and let it dry that way. I'm a genius. So you get the pieces that fit on like this and like this. And then I didn't do anything to the domes. Not sure if I'm going to yet. But this is what the final product looks like. Well, the product that's painted is right here. So painting the buildings in Santorini is very easy to do because when you mess up, it makes you look like a genius. That's what I did, and look what I came away with. Santorini Fallout. A great 2 to 4 player game, and the pieces just want to be painted, and you can put anything you want. I chose Fallout because I can mess up and say I did it on purpose. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Okay, today we're taking a look at a way to carry your games. I'm always interested in that. I'm always interested in new bags. And there's some new bags from Board Game Truck. Now, this is a Kickstarter. I actually backed this Kickstarter. And when I backed it, they said, you want us to send you some so you can take a look at them? And I was like, yes, because I backed it. Now, there's 3 bags for this. The first is the flatbed. Now, I'm still a little mind-boggled why someone would want something for one game, because that's essentially what's in here. Sure, you can put a bunch of card games in here, but this has a zipper on the top. You can open it up, keeps your game in nice and straight. There's Kingsburg. Pop this open, and I got Kingsburg. Like I said, you could put a bunch of smaller card games in here, and I think it'd be most handy for that. But for one game, it's okay. But if you're the kind of person who sleeves everything, this is a sleeve for your board game. All right, it's not for me, but I think some people would probably like that. Then the next one is the Bulwark. This is a smaller one. In fact, this one has a shoulder thing on it, so you can carry it like this. This one here can carry 2 of those bigger games, even if one of them is fatter. So again, zips open, pops off, and you can see here inside I got Stockpile. I can take out Stockpile, and then underneath that, Spectre Ops. So that one, you could put in one of those bigger games, a bunch of small card games. This one I could see much more use for. It's still a little small for me. Well, that's because they have the tank. That's this one. This is the one that I backed. Now the tank is a backpack. Now look at this thing. Huge. But the good thing about wearing it is you look super cool. At least that's what my wife told me. Actually, I think she said something about you nerd. But it is pretty heavy. And you don't have to carry it like a backpack. But if I'm taking some games from one spot to another, I'd rather do this than carry one of those bins. I really like this bag a lot. Sure, it's big. Sure, it's gigantic. Yes, it's a tank. Yes, if you wear it to a convention, everyone will hate you as you swing and knock people over. But if I have to walk a decent amount of distance carrying games, this is the bag to do that. Now, the storage in this bag is pretty cool. We're going to move the camera down so that you can see a little bit more kind of what's here in the bag. So you can see it has these belts on. These pop off here. And inside the top here, you can put some smaller games. So I got Shot and Totten, Innovation, Fist of Dragonstones, a Dice Tower sticker, No Thanks, Flowerfall, and a 20-sided die, because why not? And then when we open this part here, has zippers down like that. It comes down and you can see a belt here that's holding all these games in. So you can see I have Eldritch Horror, all the Eldritch Horror stuff in 2 boxes. Domain, Suburbia, Quadropolis, and Cosmic Encounter with a belt that holds them all in. And then I can just pull them out. And this bag, these are heavy games. I have everything of Cosmic Encounter in here. I have Suburbia and expansions, Quadropolis and Eldritch Horror is chock full. And yet this all fit inside this one case. So this is the one I backed. This is the one I'm recommending over all the other ones. Smaller ones are fine. They are coming in a variety of colors. I like that. But this one, even though it does make you look like a geek when you carry it around, I don't care because of how handy it is. These are from Board Game Truck.
Hello and welcome to the Dice Tower Sorcerer's Pit. My name is Niels Solsbrettspieler, and today we are talking about Potion Explosion in the best and the worst.
My favorite part on Potion Explosion is it is technically Bejeweled as a board game, and I was always a great fan of Bejeweled on my smartphone, so this is exactly what I want. You technically take one of these marbles out, in this case the blue one, then the yellow one touches each other, that is an explosion reaction. The next one are the red ones touching each other, and you have 5 marbles to put on your spells like this here. Put your marbles are basically up here, then they are flying into the slots. That's the whole game. The bad thing on that is everybody is doing his own puzzle. So everybody is trying to get the best and the max out of here. It feels like everybody is playing a solitary game of Bejeweled and sitting around a table. There is almost no player interaction. Of course you can take a look, oh, the next player needs some yellow marbles, but that screws you up more than the other person. The other person gets always a cool new setup here, at least on one line, because one of these rows, like this one here, you take out. Let's assume you took that one out first, was your first movement. Then you take out here the whole row. As you can see, wow, that was a big roll. So you can get all of this in one turn if you wanted, even if I took one extra out. So and then you put them in, so the next player get another new fresh line here. So there's always enough things to do, and the second next player, you have no control. It feels like a solitary game.
Thanks for watching the best and the worst. My name is Niels Solsbrettspieler. Enjoy the rest of the Dice Towers Board Game Breakfast with Potion B.
Hey folks, Tom Bessel here.
Jason Levine.
Today's question comes from Andy, and he says, what's better or worse? Elimination or virtual player elimination? And what this means is, elimination is risk. You know, we're playing risk, and Jason kills my last troops, I'm out of the game. I go sit over there and read a book while they finish. Virtual player elimination is a game where you're not eliminated, but at a certain point, I'm like, I have 13 points, and no matter what I do for the rest of the game, I cannot catch up to Jason's 100. But you still stay in the game, even though you've been virtually eliminated. You can virtually eliminate someone, for example, in diplomacy, where you can like knock them down to one thing.
And they're
out.
still putting orders.
They're still doing stuff, but you're out of the game. So which one would you rather in a game?
It depends. I mean, for me, I don't mind elimination. I know there's a lot of people who don't like games with elimination because if you eliminate someone, then they have nothing to do for the next however long it takes for the game to end.
Except if you're in a game group, they can wander off and join another game.
Exactly, which is why I don't mind it. And in my game of diplomacy, I always kept like that high Q for one player, and I kept a 2-player game. I would keep those games with it, so when the first person eliminated, he could play high Q. Then when 2 people are eliminated, they could play a 2-player game with each other, etc. if we only had a group of 7. So I don't mind elimination. Now, virtual elimination, I don't mind either, because even if I'm in a losing spot, I'm going to try to do my best.
Well, but I don't think there's a question that you should try to do your best.
Well, there's 2 different things in virtual elimination. This comes to something that I'm sort of feel strongly about, which is I think you should always try to go for first. Even if you can't or you think there's no way to win, you should always try to compete for first. I know there's people who are virtually eliminated and they're like, well, I'm in 5th. I'm going to try to beat on the guy in 4th just so I can get 4th. And for me, I feel like you should always try to
go for the win and not go for, I just want to be in 4th instead of 5th. So I think virtual elimination has some problems because of that, because of different philosophies on what you do if you're in that
I think you should do
spot.
whatever's best for you.
But what's best, going for 4th place in a game or or trying to go for 1st and trying to take the guy in 1st down?
There's a difference. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you take down. You do whatever's best for you.
But what's best is getting the maximum amount of points best, or getting the best placement best, or what's the best? That's where the philosophies come in.
My best is no one to be mad at me when the game's over. But what I mean, well, that's like a whole different subject. But yeah, we'll probably have to do that another time. But back to virtual elimination, I don't mind it as much depending on how long the game is. It definitely isn't fun when you're playing like a very long game and you know pretty early on. Sometimes you make a really critical mistake by accident or whatever, and you realize you can't recover from that unless the other side makes a critical mistake. Game is Russian railroads. In Russian railroads, you get a certain amount of points every turn. So first turn, Jason gets 10, I get 5. Next turn, he gets 12, I get 7. Next turn, he gets 30, I get 10. And suddenly I'm like, whoa, unless some miracle happens, I'm never going to catch him. That's the way that game works. I'm never going to catch up to him after a certain point. And that's not I like the game still, but you can realize early on, I'm going to lose. Now, with Russian Railroads, usually when I realize I'm going to lose, it's like 1 or 2 turns before the game's over. Not a huge deal. But there are some games where you can learn this on earlier, and I don't know if I like that. That's, to me, a negative mark against the game. There's not too many games that are like that, but it can be an unfun experience because you still got to take your turn, and then other players are on your case about king making and such.
Yes, well, that's where it comes down. But I think, like, even if I'm in a losing spot for a game, if I'm enjoying the game and I enjoy what the game does and I enjoy the mechanics, I still enjoy playing every turn and trying to get the best score I can. And I don't mind it. I think, to answer the actual question, I think that actual elimination is a little bit worse than virtual elimination because then you have to figure out something else to do with the person who was eliminated. While on the other hand, someone could still enjoy a game, even if you're losing. I mean, we've played games where I've been getting killed, but I've enjoyed the game so much that I don't mind keep playing because I'm enjoying the experience.
I don't think you lose enough to have perspective, but I actually prefer elimination because I think you can do something else. Even if you're the only person, with smartphones now, you can read or do something and wait till someone else is eliminated and do something with them. I don't know. I just feel like that's better than being forced to slog through something you can't win. Unless you like the game a ton, then who cares? Stay in it and have a great time. Tell us what you think in the comments. Also, send us more questions at dicetower@gmail.com. I'm Tom Vassell.
Jason Levine.
You stupid hats. They're dirty.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about board games for children of around 5 and under. And today, we left home alone today, aren't we? Because your brother and mum have gone to Marvel Live. We don't want to go and see Marvel Live, do we? Oh, but anyway, we've been playing board games, so that's fine. And what we've been playing today, Cora?
It's called Rabbit Rally.
Rabbit Rally. In Rabbit Rally, the players are a bunch of rabbits racing each other to be the first to reach a carrot patch. However, unfortunately, there's a big river in the way, and the only way to get there is by using some handy stepping stones and planks to cross it. On their turn, the players roll a dice to see what length of plank they're going to be using. Then, without doing any measuring, they put a stone down on the table, judging how far they can place it while still being able to reach it with their plank. If they guess right, then their rabbit moves to the new stone and they're closer to the goal. If they are wrong, then they stay where they are. So Cora, what do you think about Rabbit Rally?
I think it's good.
Why do you think it's good?
Because it's golden carrot.
Yeah, the golden carrot, the prize is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else?
That stepping stones and the big green one. It's funny because 2 of them, the orange one and the green one, has bugs in it. Like the green one has a snail.
Yeah, the green, all the stepping stones, the planks, all have different pictures on, don't they? I really recommend this Rabbit Rally. The components are lovely and the artwork's lovely. It's a really good game. So we give Rabbit Rally 2 thumbs up.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. Asmodee is going to be making a lot of their games into board game apps in the upcoming year, and that, of course, is pretty exciting news for me. First up is Colt Express. How does this train heist game translate into app form? Let's take a quick look. In Colt Express, players take on the role of different characters, each with a different ability, trying to rob a train. Action cards are selected and programmed in that allow the player to move car to car, to the roof and back, and to punch or shoot or pick up treasure. The trick, as in most programming games, is that you plan your moves, but another player's action may completely disrupt your plans. There's chaos and silliness, especially at the higher player counts. Asmodee Digital brings the game to life with animation serving as kind of a thematic substitution for those 3D components. The must-have features are all here, including an interactive tutorial and the rules available in-app. I really like that there's a story mode that has you play through characters' backstories a bit, and it gives you an extra reason to play the game solo. Although in classic mode, while you can select a character, you can't select the AI characters, which would be a nice feature. And best of all, there's online cross-platform play. There was some release bumps around this, but Asmodee has a record of supporting their apps well, and they actively squash bugs, and I love that this major publisher is committed to cross-platform apps. The Colt Express app is a great example of an app bringing a board game to life without being a one-to-one port. The story mode is a great feature, and the app's overall polish is stellar. If you don't care for programming games, then this app might not change your mind, but I find Colt Express engaging and satisfying to play. Give it a try.
Last year, we gave the world a video explaining why board games are such a great activity to use to get to know a prospective mate. And for whatever reason, that video became one of our most popular ever. Could have been the insightful commentary, or maybe the humorous dating vignettes, or possibly the unprecedented amount of my navel. But whatever the reason, it's now time for Snakes and Lattes, Valentine's Day Games 2, Romantic Boogaloo. Competitive games can be great because they will teach you how your date handles defeat and victory. Some people are whiny complainers when they lose, but also smug jerks when they win. Some people see dating and all aspects of life as a competition that must be won at all costs, whereas other people are far more laid back and easygoing. Some recent games that worked for two: The Princess Bride, I Hate to Kill You, Lotus, and Raptor. Maybe you don't see dating as a competition. Perhaps for you, relationships are more about compromise and partnership. In that case, you're going to want to try a cooperative game with your potential paramour. Some good games that you can play cooperatively on a date include The Game, Fuse, Star Trek 5-Year Mission or Star Trek Panic, and any of the pandemic games like Pandemic Iberia. Maybe you and your special friend have a friend who's got an equally special friend. Or you're on a first date with someone and a friend of yours has done you a solid by also going on a first date with someone else. Either way, we're in double date territory. And that means team games, because nothing guarantees exciting sexy times like crushing your friend and their new date with your new date. And of course, nothing consoles a crushing defeat like snuggling with that someone special. So if you're up for a double date, you'll want to try Codenames Pictures, Taboo, or Concepts. Another option for the double dating crowd is Indigo. We like this one so much that we did a Snake's Favorite about it a while ago, so you might want to check that out for some detailed gameplay information. But basically, the mix of semi-cooperative and yet everyone's in it for themselves means that by playing this, you get to see your date in all situations. Whatever your plans this Valentine's Day, the game gurus at Snakes and Lattes have got your back. We wish you the best of luck at the table and in love. Think anyone noticed the hair?
And that is another Board Game Breakfast, folks. Thanks so much for joining us today. Whew, a lot of things going on. I'm really excited about the future. Once again, new podcasts in our network. Marathon coming up in just a couple weeks. So hopefully you guys will be able to do that. And live gaming, of course, going on. We're going to try to be doing that on a consistent basis from now on. And Dice Tower Con, go there. Get your ticket before they're all gone and before they go up in price. So, and viral. Neat. Oh, there's so much cool stuff. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you've been wondering, you say, whoa, the Indiegogo campaign's over. When's that going to be fulfilled? We're working on that stuff behind the scenes. It's going to take a few weeks just to get everything organized and stuff, but we'll try to be as quick on that as we can. But most importantly, the rewards are just part of that campaign. The main reason we're on the campaign is so that the Dice Tower can grow and expand and we can do better content for you. And today, I'm already going out, looking at different places where we can build the Dice Tower headquarters and just really make our show a better thing. I'm really excited about that. In fact, let's get going. I'll see you guys next week. Woo!
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.